Let's talk fibre and why fibre is important to your diet. Just be aware you can also absolutely reasonably use the term roughage, completely reasonable, or dietary fibre. Any of these terms are absolutely fine. What is this, first of all? Fibre is a nutrient which is important for gut health. I'm going to talk later on about sort of what's called the probiota of the gut, the sort of the types of bacteria that are in the gut itself, and they need to be there for the digestive process. And fibre really helps with that. But one of the other points I want to make here as well is that we take fibre from plants and we absorb it in the large intestine. So it's not unusual for us to talk about nutrients that we extract from plants. We've looked at that with vitamins, with minerals, with carbohydrates, with fats, even some proteins. But the point I really want to stress here is that when we absorb fibre, we are absorbing that in the large intestine. In almost every other case, nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine. So please be aware that fibre is absorbed in the large intestine. It's a slower, more ongoing process. Now, what I also want to stress here as well is that, and I keep saying similar things in these different tutorials, but there are two types of fibre, okay? So I want you to get that idea sort of nice and clear in your mind. So type number one is what we would refer to as soluble fibre. And if you see the word soluble, it might not be completely sure what it means. Soluble essentially means it can be absorbed into the body, into the bloodstream, okay? So we've got soluble fibre, and we also have insoluble. Now there's lots of things that we eat that are insoluble, but generally when we chew them and digest them, we break them down to make them soluble. Think about a protein which is insoluble broken down into amino acids which are soluble. But there are certain fibre types, or there's certain types of fibre that are insoluble. We cannot absorb them into the blood, and they are passed. And when I say passed, that's a polite way of me saying effectively we poo them out. That's what we're talking about here, okay? So therefore, we can see that having lots of fibre very frequently from vegetables, from fruit, especially eaten raw. We put fruit, especially eaten raw, but not necessarily always. This is important also for a kind of our digestive process, but the capacity of our body to actually pass out waste, okay? So we need to be aware of that. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like just to do a little advantages of fibre in here. So if you're thinking about, okay, I want to increase the fibre in my diet, what is going to be the impact of that? Is it going to impact me at all in terms of my movement, my sports performances, my PE lessons? Well, first of all, what I'm going to say here is that we get a healthy probiota in the gut. And what this means is that the blend of healthy bacteria that are in your stomach is more balanced because you are taking on sufficient fibre in your diet. This helps with all kinds of functions, including the better absorption of other nutrients that we've looked at in other tutorials. Secondly, and it's not often I get to teach terms like this, but lots of fibre or sufficient fibre is going to prevent constipation. Now, you're a young person, you might never have had constipation in your life. Constipation is when you can't do a poo, and it occurs for typically a number of days, and after a few days it gets really, really uncomfortable. The point I would make here is, though this is kind of a bit of a funny term and we all have a giggle at it, it's actually a really, really uncomfortable thing and can cause people a heck of a lot of pain, okay? So it's actually quite important. Our capacity to go to the toilet and do regular stools, poos, go and do a brown one, it's actually quite important, okay? So preventing, not quite important, it's essential. So preventing constipation is important. Now, some of you out there may experience lactose intolerance. Now, I want to be clear here, fibre can help to reduce, not prevent or get rid of, it can reduce lactose intolerance, okay? So those of you that experience lactose intolerance, getting plenty of fibre in your diet may be one way of slightly improving that scenario. That's not to say it will solve it, but it might improve it. We also, with lots of fibre, we're also able to enhance immunity. So again, taking fibre is generally a healthy part of our diet and can make us ultimately be less likely to become ill. And then finally, folks, I'm going to say here that it helps us to reduce inflammation in the gut. Now, long story short here, folks, fibre helps you to pass. We were saying that before, weren't we? Reduce inflammation in the gut. So in essence, it helps you to empty your gut, and therefore it means that any kind of swelling or sort of like pressure in your gut is not likely to be there. Now, I want to offer you a little challenge, folks, to finish off with. A little challenge. I'll put it in this little box up here. Little challenge. I want you, over the next couple of days or whenever you feel like it, or perhaps discuss it with your teacher, what I want you to do is I want you to check some food packages. It doesn't matter what it is. You might be eating a frozen pizza. You might be, for example, opening a bag of peas. You might be, for example, I don't know. You might be putting a ready meal in the oven. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But I want you to check the food package. And the question I want you to ask is, does that food, do they provide 3 grams of fibre per 100 grams of the food? And the reason I'm asking that is this is the ratio which is considered healthy. For every 100 grams of food that you eat, ideally 3 grams of that food will be made up in fibre. That is the balance. We are talking about 3% of the overall weight that goes into our food, or that is our food, should be dietary fibre, roughage, and that is what helps us to stay healthy, to keep the gut healthy, and to be able to, for example, pass regular stools. Thank you.